Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to Barira's Faith Channel. We have spent this whole season talking about what is unseen, the jinn who walk among us, the eye that harms without meaning to, the magic some reach for in desperation, the voices that claim to know what only Allah knows. And somewhere in all of that, one question kept following me. If all of this is real, if the unseen world is really this close, then what do we actually have? What was given to us before any of it could touch us? I went looking, and what I found was not a spell or a charm. It was words. Words we already know, placed in our mouths before we ever needed them. The scholars describe something called Ruqyah, reciting the words of Allah over someone who is suffering. And what struck me first was how ordinary the preparation is. The one reciting is simply told to be close to Allah. Because the closer a person is to their Lord, the more fear Allah places in the heart of their enemy. Not a special lineage, not a secret initiation. But it is what happens next that stopped me completely. A real witnessed conversation between a scholar and the very thing he was trying to remove. Ibn al-Qayyim writes of witnessing his teacher, a great scholar of that time, sit beside someone in the grip of convulsions and simply speak to the spirit inside him. Not shout, speak. He asked it questions, the way you would ask a question to anyone standing in front of you. It answered. When told plainly that what it was doing was not permitted, it said in a strange drawn-out voice, "I love him." The scholar answered on the man's behalf, "He does not love you. Live out of obedience to Allah, not respect for him." And it said, "I will leave." It left. The man sat up, looking to his right and his left, and asked what had happened to him, with no memory and no pain. What unsettled me was not the spirit. It was how calm the room was. Just someone who knew exactly which words carried weight and used them without fear. But this next part matters because it is something many of us have actually witnessed or heard about in our own communities. Sheikh Ibn Uthaymin was asked directly whether it is permitted to strike someone while reciting over them. He said some past scholars did speak to the jinn and struck them until they left, but then he added the excessiveness we see today is incorrect. That line has stayed with me because this is not a historical footnote. It is happening now in living rooms in front of people who love the one who is suffering and do not know what else to do. The chapter is honest about where that can lead. A family took someone they loved, someone believed to be possessed, to soothsayers rather than to the words of Allah. The soothsayers agreed an evil spirit was refusing to leave, and that force was necessary. So they beat him with sticks together again and again until he died. The warning is direct. Striking someone believed to be possessed requires knowledge most people simply do not have. A person may be mistaken about what is actually wrong with someone they love. Some go further still, reaching for electric shocks. And the scholars are clear that this is wrong. What looks like strength done without understanding becomes only harm. Even the Prophet's own restraint, when he faced Shaitan directly, was words rather than force. He sought refuge in Allah 3 times, and Shaitan retreated defeated by nothing but certainty. There is another part of this we hear about constantly, even without a name for it: the pledge. Some people who recite over others takes a pledge from the jinn, a promise sworn by Allah that it will leave and never return. It sounds like the story is over. But these jinn take the pledge and then break it. Imam al-Nawawi explained why a pledge like this can be broken by anyone ignorant of what it actually means. So it was never real protection to begin with. So the words are the shield, not force, not spectacle, just certainty and the words we were already given. And this is where the chapter ends up, in a place that feels less like history and more like something we are already doing without realizing it. It is reported that Rasulullah said, "Take the two cures, honey and the Quran." Ibn Tulun explained the wisdom in this, saying there is an added secret in that statement. Because a person is told not just to rely on divine means, but to also take the necessary steps while still asking Allah for His assistance and success. He also said of black seed, "Take this black seed, for verily in it is a cure from every illness except death." And Ibn al-Qayyam wrote of Zamzam water, the same water so many of us bring home from Hajj or Umrah today, that he had personally used it as a cure, and it cured him of a number of illnesses by the will of Allah. But the chapter also draws a line worth sitting with: wearing a thread, a black bracelet, a ring, believing it will guard against illness or the evil eye. Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab named this plainly as a form of shirk, not because the thread itself is dangerous, but because it quietly places trust in an object instead of Allah. A bracelet slipped onto a baby's wrist, a knot someone was told to keep close. The chapter is not asking us to be harsh about it, just honest about where our trust is actually resting. That is the whole shape of Ruqyah, really. Not refusing the means Allah gave us, the words, the medicine, the effort itself, but reaching for all of it without fear, because the cure was never ours to guarantee in the first place. And I want to be honest with you before we close. Everything we spoke about today is a drop from the ocean. The book this comes from holds so much more than what fits into our time together. If any part of this stayed with you, we would really encourage you to read it yourself. And if enough of you feels the same way, tell us and we will come back to this with a longer, deeper episode. Allah, you are the one who cures, and there is no cure but yours. Protect us with the words you gave us before we ever knew we would need them. Remove our fear and replace it with certainty in you alone. Follow for more forgotten Islamic stories. All informations are derived from Darus Salam publication. The book I used is The Jinn, Magic and the Evil Eye, Darus Salam publication. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.